Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. This is Eisenherz and today I want to talk about an old-timer, a classic, a legend, Zur The Enchanter. Zur is considered to be the oldest competitively viable commander, so I wanted to present him to you guys, go over some deck variants that see play in cEDH, and also discuss the question if Zur is slowly becoming outdated and if he's being outclassed by other Esper commanders. So let's start by looking at what Zur actually does. Zur The Enchanter is a 1/4 human wizard with flying that costs 1 generic and 1 of each of the Esper colors to cast. Whenever Zur attacks, you get to tutor up an enchantment with CMC 3 or less from your library directly into play. This is an incredibly powerful tutor ability that has some very strong targets such as Heuristic Study, Mystic Remora, Grasp of Fate, Rule of Law, Deafening Silence, and most notably, Necropotence, one of the most broken cards to ever exist in MTG. So how do you build a deck around Zur The Enchanter? Today there are 3 main variants of Zur that see play in cEDH. The first one is Stax or Control, which uses Zur to tutor up strong stacks and control pieces like the aforementioned Rule of Law, Deafening Silence, but also Rest in Peace, Eidolon of Rhetoric, Spirit of the Labyrinth, Counterbalance, and many more. This build tries to slow down the game as much as possible, stop the opponents from comboing off, and win with Rest in Peace plus Helm of Obedience, or Heliod plus Walking Ballista. The second version is Shimmer Zur, which uses Zur to tutor up Necropotence, then pays a ton of life into Necro to dig very deep into the deck. Next it flashes in Shimmer in the end step, followed by Aetherflux Reservoir and a ton of mana rocks. These rocks are being cast with Reservoir triggers still on the stack to gain even more life once the triggers resolve. Now you can use Chain of Vapor or Hercules Recall to bounce your rocks back into your hand and recast them in order to build up more Aetherflux Reservoir triggers, gain more life, and finally shoot your opponent's dead with Aetherflux Reservoir activations in your end step. To support this strategy, the deck also plays cards like Scroll Rack to put away unneeded cards and dig deeper into your library, as well as Helm of Awakening to make your artifacts even cheaper to storm off. The last and most widely played version I see nowadays is Consultation Zur, which is probably the most slot efficient way to build Zur. The win con of this deck is straight up Thassa's Oracle plus Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact. The deck has very high card quality and can use either Necropotence or Ad Nauseam to draw enough cards to assemble the combo very easily. To me, these builds not only sound pretty dope, I know for a fact that they are really dope. I even played Consultation Zur for a few weeks, but as you know I'm not a huge fan of winning with Thassa's Oracle, so I eventually stopped playing it. But definitely not because of a lack of power or consistency. Although Zur is widely considered a cEDH staple and the oldest competitively viable commander, there is a growing group of cEDH players that are convinced that Zur is outdated and outclassed by other Esper commanders, most notably tYmNa plus Malcolm or tYmNa plus Sakashima. These Esper farm decks are undoubtedly extremely strong. They either draw a ton of cards by having 2 tYmNas in play with Sakashima as a secondary tYmNa, or they draw cards and make mana at an absurd rate with Malcolm as both a ramp piece and an invasive creature to trigger tYmNa. So how does Esper Farm compare to Zur? Well, in my opinion it's not exactly apples and oranges, but there is a little flaw in the logic of comparing Esper Farm decks to Zur, because they do pretty different things although being in the same colors. Zur directly tutors up a payoff, Necropotence, that very consistently wins you the game. In that the deck can be considered extremely linear, although it of course can pivot depending on the board state. It can tutor up draw engines or removal until the time's right to go for a win. Farm, on the other hand, is a turbo Norse deck with value engines in the command zone. tYmNa draws and or ramps depending on the pairing to gain card advantage and mana advantage and then combo off for the win. Those are different approaches to the goal of comboing off, but both are equally viable. As the old saying says, many ways lead to Rome. In fact, all the Esper farm lists that are currently on the decklist database differ on only 20 to 25 cards from the Consultation Zur list that are currently on the decklist database. Of those differences, the most notable cards are Evasive Creatures for tYmNa and Rituals for payoffs like Peer into the Abyss and Bolus Citadel. That's about it. So, in conclusion, no. Zur is actually not outdated and he's definitely not outclassed by Esper Farm. Esper Farm might have an edge because it is less vulnerable to tutor hate and can just sit there and farm if the board is stacked out, but that doesn't mean that Zur is no longer viable. While Zur can actively grab payoff, Esper Farm digs for its payoff. But both lists get there incredibly consistently. The final point I want to address that is really important to me personally is that why not tYmNa mindset. To me, that's one of the most obnoxious discussions that consistently pops up in our community. Yes, of course, tymNa is one of the strongest cEDH commanders ever printed. There is no questioning that, because tymNa draws a ton of cards and can be paired with a ton of very strong commanders, but does that mean that no other commander is viable to play if it can be replaced with tymNa and a partner? Hell no. This why not tymNa mindset is a very elitist, close-minded and gatekeeping mindset of a certain group of cEDH players that seem to refuse to play anything other than what are considered to be the absolute top tier commanders. Of course, everyone, including those players, can and should play what they want to. But let's take this mind step a bit further for a second. Why play Extus when you can play tymNa and Jeska or Roger? Why play tayam or Gaif when you can play tymNa plus Kamal or Kodama or Ikra? Let's take it even further. Why play Esper Farm when you can play Blue Farm? Actually, why play anything else other than tymNa, Thrasios, Crom, Cody, Najila and Kenrith in the first place? The answer is very simple. Because a lot of other decks are also viable. A lot of other decks are more fun. A lot of other decks are more interesting. And a lot of other decks have unique qualities that the top tier commanders do not provide. So screw that why not tymNa mindset. Play whatever the hell you want as long as it's competitively viable, and enjoy a diverse meta with unique and powerful commanders. And well, that's it. Of course, you can find links to Zur primers, deck lists and the Zur Discord server in the description box down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know. Like and share the video, drop a comment down below about a commander or topic you're interested in, and of course don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content in the future. This is Eisenherz and Auf Wiedersehen.